How's it going, everyone, and welcome to Algonquin Park. I kind of wanted to do a follow-up for what I did last year when I hiked to the grotto at the Bruce Peninsula. I waited like 2 or 3 weekends just to make sure that there was either fresh snow or that it was going to be snowing when I was actually here, so really glad I waited on that. So the trail I'm on is called Tracking Tower, and then I just came really, one, to just kind of get away. Sometimes I could use the isolation, and just to get some photos as well. On top of the 5D, I also did bring the Hasselblad with 2 rolls of black and white film and 1 roll of color. I'll probably be focusing more on the black and white, I have a feeling, but we'll see once I get to the first thing. It's not even loaded yet, so whatever first catches my eye, that's what it'll go in the camera. I also thought that today would have been a great time to revisit a topic I had with John Wilkening on his podcast. And we were talking a bit about why I like the images off the Hasselblad so much more than something I can get on digital, for whatever reason it may be. I always wondered, like, is it just because it's film or just because I know what camera it was shot with? He had a really interesting point to that, where he was saying, like, in your sporting event, when you're shooting with the Hasselblad, are you liking the images, one, because it's the Hasselblad, or is it more because it's not a camera that's meant to shoot that type of photography? Is it making you think and approach scenes in a different way? And as a result of that, you're just liking the images that are coming out of it with that approach because it's not necessarily what you expected or what you're always being fed when you look at kind of more traditional sports photos. So when you see the photos throughout the video, definitely leave a comment after and let me know your opinions on them. Like, do you think a lot of them are over-romanticizing the use of film? Or do you think that some of them, because it may be a square, or because I'm slowing down with film, do you think it actually is a stronger image? With the scenes that I see so far, I am going to go with black and white to begin with. I actually had this old roll of T-Max 400 and I've never used it before, so I figured why not. To be honest, you probably won't notice a difference on the YouTube video, but yeah. And a park like this is already pretty hard to shoot in just because there's so much going on. That it's kind of difficult to isolate a subject, especially when you don't have someone with you to use as the subject, because then it's a little easier to isolate them. So you come across a lot of compositions that in your head would work out really well, but once you look through the viewfinder, they seem just really busy. So that's something that I don't want to do. So again, there's only 12 shots in there, so I'm sure I'll get 12 by the end of it, not trying to rush it. And at the end of the day, we'll see what we got. So what I'll do is, for every shot I take on the Hasselblad, I will take one on the 5D as well. And I'll try to match the composition to be as close as possible to the same. Of course, taking into consideration that this isn't a square. And I know I could shoot it in a square aspect ratio, but I don't want to get into that. And I don't want to hear your feedback necessarily, because I want to know which is better in order to narrow it down to a select image or anything, but I just want to kind of get that feedback so the next time I'm out shooting, I can kind of remember some of the points that you were all making in an attempt to improve my photography with whatever camera I am using at the time. Because ideally, I'd like to have them all on the same level and like every shot I get with every camera, but I guess that is a little unrealistic to ask for. They can't all be great, but I'm sure they can all be good or decent. Let's go with decent. Good's pushing it. I just took the first shot on the 5D, so now I'm going to follow up with the Hasselblad. is that little rock in the bottom right corner that I really want to keep in frame. There we go, there's the two. I obviously don't know which one I prefer right now, but I bet you it'll be this one. Onward. Something that always blows my mind on hikes like these, especially doing them solo, is the idea that at one point in time, just like everything else, this whole forest was like completely untouched, and someone had to go through it for the very first time to not only discover how awesome this area is, but even to go and make the trails. Like, how cool would that be, having a complete fresh canvas in the form of a provincial park and getting to make all the trails, deciding what people see, where they go. I don't know, that'd be really cool. I keep stopping every so often and just kind of, you hear the sound of my pants going and the crunching of the snow. But then once you stop, it's just blows my mind. Stairs? Yeah, no problem. Holy shit. It's all just ice. So that's the lookout. I hope I'm about halfway now. So I'm just gonna kind of take my first break, make some food, and then continue on the trail. I've only gotten one shot on the Hasselblad so far. I'm just gonna rest up. I'm definitely gonna take a couple of the lookout. So stay tuned for that, but let me just get a drink and then we'll get back to it. Just so we're all clear, yes, I did bring matches all the way just for that single shot. Do have a lighter in there, but I figured the matches would look a lot cooler. So now we have some water boiling behind me for the healthiest of lunches of some instant noodles and a couple sandwiches. I picked this up last summer and I didn't really get to use it too much. I used it like once, so I figured why not bring it along with me and try cooking out here. Wouldn't really call it cooking, but 10 out of 10. So now that I'm all done, I'm just gonna go out and actually take advantage of this lookout that I have and take some shots. I'm gonna start with the Hasselblad and then we'll switch over to the 5D. So I think that's enough of that one spot. So I just kind of wanted to talk about when I was actually shooting up on the lookout and how I think this is going to play into the idea of why I always like the Hasselblad photos better. And I don't know, I think it almost comes down to I just see the square with the 80mm lens on it, because when I got up there for those 5 shots, I didn't really need a lot of time to think. I know probably if I took a couple more seconds I'd have a better picture. I already knew just by looking at the scene where I was going to point the camera, what I wanted to focus on, what I wanted everywhere in the frame without too much thinking or searching for it. But with the 5D, I know it's a different lens and everything, but I had a lot more trouble finding something that I wanted. There was a lot more searching going on. I think it just may be attributed to how much I've used the Hasselblad. And I especially think that the one trip in California where I basically only used the Hasselblad aside from like 4 rolls on the Ricoh GR, like that time period where those 2 weeks I was using that camera every day for multiple rolls, and that's all I was looking through. And I think it paid off, because I think now everything I can kind of see in that exact format and through that exact lens. A quick update. We're at 9 right now. I'm gonna go obviously 10, 11, 12 back to the parking lot, so we're a little somewhere around halfway. This time I'm going to start on the 5D, get what I want, because originally when I saw it I thought wider. So I shot some at 16 and I shot some at 35, which I'm also liking 35mm a lot more. Before I didn't, but I guess having this lens is make me appreciate it a lot more. Kind of a shame that I didn't come with anyone, just because there were so many great spots that would have been amazing for portraits along the way. One of my videos without a leaf, so didn't get the leaf shot. The noise of the Hasselblad shutter is always something that's rather special, but in an environment like this where there's absolutely no noise except like a bird chirping as you're taking the shot, and then just that kerplunk right at the end, it's the best. That's how you really appreciate it, is in places like this, which is weird because it's primarily a studio camera, but we'll forget that. See, I think the important thing, especially in like wooded areas like this, and it's something I've already said in this video, is just making sure it's completely isolated. So because that branch of leaves was basically the only thing that's going to be in focus, it's a lot more impactful than if I took a picture of this, for example. Doesn't really do the same. So if you have a really busy background, like a forest, look for stuff like that. That last marker was deceiving, to say the least. It's 2:12 right now, so just over 4 hours for the whole thing. And I think in the itinerary or whatever literature they gave me, they said it was going to be 4.5, which is pretty cool because it's winter, so these things are usually slower in the winter. Crazy to think that that was 7.5K, and when I was here last time in the summer, in about that same time, 4 hours, 5 hours, me and my friends did 17K. I think now I'm just gonna kind of rest up. I may actually drive out to one other trail that's a lot shorter, just kind of a lookout, see what it is, because I still have a couple frames on the Hasselblad and I want to finish that before I get going. So I'm gonna take a break now, and then I'll drive on over.